The views and opinions expressed on this station do not reflect the owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
Thursday, the 14th day of January 2021. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, and Lindos. I'm Jamal Hartman, along with Carla Zul. Thanks for making us part of your daily routine. If you're watching online, share the link. If you're on Facebook, start a watch party. If you're on Twitter, retweet it. Just get the conversation out there to your network. And don't forget to like and engage with us throughout the show. Another good one as one of Bermuda's most talented duos, Last Call, stopping by, and they are bringing the gospel, folks. The Daily Play is a name that place, so Carla is taking a trip somewhere today.
I'm excited. I got backup singers today, and I'm going to kill it on the Daily Play. I just can't wait.
Oh, my. Oh, my. Yeah. So I hope you bought your earplugs, folks. I hope you bought your earplugs. This is going to be something special if you've seen this show before. But we have a lot to discuss, Carla. I think, well, let's start with, it was a couple days ago, the U.S. finally put in place what other folks have had in place for a while with the COVID testing. You now have to have a COVID test to enter the U.S. Did you see that?
Yeah, but I have questions about that. So if, let's just say in Bermuda, do they have to pay for the COVID test, or will they be free, like how they're free for Bermuda residents? That's the first thing I thought about.
No, I mean, we can always reach out to RestQuest to see if they're in for the contract. But yeah, that's a good question. I was talking in a few groups about it with some people, and they're just like, how late are they to the party? Like we're talking a year later. It all could have been prevented, but I guess, I mean, I don't know. It's better late than sorry in this case, is it?
I guess something's better than nothing, because America is in such a dismal place statistically.
Mm-hmm.
It's
well, I mean,
wait till you hear what's happened over in the UK. So that'll be in our news. But I just think some of these countries are just all over the place, and I just think they don't know what to do.
Well, it's interesting you say what happens in the UK, because every morning during my run, I actually listen to the United Stand, which is a fan channel for Manchester United. Most normal people probably listen to music. I listen to people talk. So I got quite a lot, and I don't want to disrupt Carla's news, but it's always interesting what they share as it relates to it, the whole COVID situation, because there's always a debate whether or not they should shut football down for a week, couple weeks, or a month, and so on. But something that he said that was interesting today, the host of the United Stand, was, it puzzles me how so many people have gone back to work and the situation is worse than it was than last year, March, when you were staying home from work. And I was just like, that's happening in the UK as well, huh? But
because when we first had the first lockdown March last year, it was like a ghost town. You saw nothing, you heard cars, and now it just seems like it's normal. I mean, there are less cars, but it's still lower traffic.
You just said something that it seems normal. And what he said this morning, he asked the question, have we become so desensitized? And it reminds me of the shootings in Bermuda. When the shootings first started happening, people were all up in arms, and then over time, just another shooting, right? That almost seems like that's what COVID has taken on. It's become desensitized. Like, there's only 1% or such and such percent of people that are being infected to the point of death. It's nothing to worry about. Is that where we are?
Well,
And
grocery stores have stepped it up out in the UK out here because now there are at least four of the major ones who have said if you don't have a mask and you don't have medical exemption, you cannot come in. So I think they do realize it's getting serious way too late, but is it too little too late?
And I think that's the question as it relates to the United States having the COVID test now before you enter their country requiring COVID tests. Is it too little, too late? The other thing, and this is for the question of the morning for everyone. I came across an article, and it was very interesting. Came across it on LinkedIn by Edelman, and pretty much it was Edelman's Trust Barometer 2021. So here's the question of the morning. Has social media use by politicians during the pandemic caused more mistrust? And it looks like the surveys that they are sharing the results is, interestingly, two different extremes. In the US, 40%. And then China, it looks like 30%. Governments are deeply distrusted by respondents from even other 26 markets. So it looks like distrust for government via, through social media during this pandemic has increased. Now, would you say we're through your lens, Carla, do you feel like you trust the governments? I'm going to say governments, obviously, because UK and Bermuda. Do you feel like you trust them less based on what they've been sharing during the pandemic?
The UK government, definitely distrust, definitely. Some even, I don't even know if Boris Johnson really had COVID. I wonder if it was a hoax just to try to convince people that to show he's human like everybody else. With Bermuda, the distrust is a little different. I think that the government overall has done a great job with being transparent, with getting the information out there, the premier tweeting, etc. But I think where some people may have a distrust of the Bermuda government is what we talked about a few weeks ago with their questioning whether or not the Minister of Health has the ability to carry out the job. So I think that's where some mistrust may come from my lens with the Bermuda contacts. But I do think that the Bermuda government has done a great job through social media.
Well, I think you have to look at it in two parts. Are we talking about the Bermuda government pre-election or the Bermuda government post-election? Because there's definitely been two different responses when you consider it overall. Pre-election, I think everything that was done was based on knowing that they were going to the polls. And I do think that for, what it's worth, they did a fantastic job of transparency and communication. Post-election, I think that people have a right to not trust the same government. One is they start, and I'm going to use this example, when people are being told to do, okay, let's go back before the election. There was the situation with former ministers Zandy Silver and Wayne Keynes at Blue. So that kind of stuff makes people lose trust, through social media. Post-election, you then see the Honorable Premier David Burt posing in pictures, no mask, at rugby. That right there would make people lose trust. So, there are situations on either side of the election. However, before the election, I would say that the government did do a fantastic job of, gaining the trust of the people to get them to comply, right? Post-election, I think that they've set off a bit. They have not been, there was a time after the election back in late November, December, where David Burt was actually called out on social media by some Bermudians because it was like, okay, old boy secured the bag. Where is he? Right. So I guess it depends. But that's the question to the audience. Has the pandemic made you lose trust in your elected officials? Has mistrust grown for your elected officials since the pandemic? And that study was coming from an article done by Edelman. Let's just go. It looks like Robert Durham speaking about a vaccine just joining, but I hear Johnson & Johnson is coming out with a one-shot vaccine that will have 90%. Okay, but one shot versus the two. Interesting. Quentin Stavro-Carla.
I would say Bermuda government's esteem on social media and in general has gone up overall during COVID-19.
Yeah, I think you're on with what Carla's saying. I would say it's too... Pre-pandemic, yeah, I would definitely agree. Post-pandemic, I'd say take a look over there on Twitter and see how the responses are to David Burt today versus what they were pre-election. Sean Smith says, do we worry about the flu despite it claiming 1 million people each year? Well, I did see someone on Twitter yesterday saying, so no one's got the flu this year? A bit facetious, but the people are asking that question. Kathy Brumby says, it is incredibly easy to con people. It's very difficult to convince them that they have been conned. I don't disagree.
That's a good quote, actually.
Yeah. Well, look, I have to use this. I think the most easily led people, honestly, and this is said with all due respect, but it's been proven, the most easily misled people, in my opinion, in my lifetime, that I would ever come across, conscripts in the Bermuda Regiment. I mean, the way you were able to brainwash these black men to make them believe in this was in their best interest, right? And then now you have another side trying to convince them, bro, you've been brainwashed. This is not about you. If a riot breaks out, they're not going to Frizzle's Hill. They're going to send you Front Street. Like, when you break it down and start giving people, hey, this is what this is built for. It's not your protection. It's not about pride. So I agree. It's easy to con people, get people to believe this is about you and your country and your family. It's another thing to convince them that it's not about you and your country. It's actually about protecting white interests from that respect. So that's where I'm going with it. Nick Zybel says the situation with the vaccine was mistrusting. So some people, and again, a lot of people have distrust. I'll say this much about the vaccine, and going back to what the guy in the United Stand said this morning about people becoming desensitized and so much different information. Not only did he mention people that have returned to work, right? And the situation's worse off than when they went home, right? When they were sent to work from home. But I still don't get the rules that make no sense. Like, for instance, if you're standing 6 feet apart, right? If that person moves and you walk in that space, germs don't just leave like that, right? Like, no. I have a lot of questions, and I'm not here to be this conspiracy theorist, as people like to say. I legit just want to make sense of everything, and to me, a lot of this does not make sense to me. It does not.
I don't know about other parents out there, but that has been a bone of contention between me and my 14-year-old, because he's like, can I go over to my friends? I'm like, no. He's like, but yet I have to go to school. Now they have since switched made school online, but then with the football, right? As an academy player, they're mixing bubbles as such, because not everybody lives in the same household. And he's like, so why can't I go and be with my friends, but yet I have to go and be with up to 20 other people that come from all over the place? And it's very hard to parent. And it's so hypocritical, because I'm like, I understand where you're coming from. I feel you. However, and it's a constant battle. So they've now taken football away for now, but it's inconsistent. It's really, and it's a battle.
I think the inconsistency leads to mistrust, because let's just go back to the biggest statement that was made early on, that people who just don't trust anything that the government and these organizations say keep harping on. At first, they said the mask is pointless. Then they said the mask is needed. And so you're going to have people that'll keep going to that. Well, hold up. You want us to trust the same professionals that told us we didn't need a mask. So I get it. I get the question. Let's go. We got a lot of comments. Maria Seaman says, at times, I believe those in charge of managing a pandemic are too casual, even jokey. James Burt says, my estimation of the government has gone up. Nick Zybel said, the talk is, did he get it or didn't he? I believe he got it. Quentin Stavo, Carla.
The pandemic doesn't really change actual real life shenanigans, but maybe the pandemic overshadows them and gives them a diminished perspective.
Robert Durham says, flu is down due to hand hygiene and mask wearing. Nick Zybel, the rules are all over the place. Miriam Simmons says, which would have been happening all this time. I'm glad the hygiene has increased. Well, I say it all the time. We said it on this show. Simply the rules that we've been given for the pandemic and dealing with it, like, I just thought it was normal hygiene to wash your hands and so on. I thought it was normal to, be clean. It shocks me that people need to have these signs up to understand that, hey, you need to wash your hands and be clean so that you don't spread germs. It's wow. Who have I been shaking hands with? Erna Enos says the orders are coming from an organized group dictating to the world. When common sense came in effect, they changes and what they say. Your son is very smart, Carla. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Don't give her credit. Joel Bell says nobody has ever been through this, so some of it is trial and error, in my opinion. Indeed. But again, back to the question of the morning, it was, has social media used by politicians during the pandemic caused more mistrust? I guess depending on where you sit, what just your lens, I mean, you may see it differently. Go ahead, Carla.
Well, the other thing now, because I'm in a few groups out here in the UK, and this lady put up a card. She was like, "Oh, I got my vaccination. I'm so excited." And then someone else posted something and says, "But hold on, the instructions are saying just because you've had the vaccination, you should still wear your mask, etc." And so I think people thought the vaccine would fix things, and then the government's now telling them, the medical part of government, that you still have to, it may not be 6 to 8 months until you can see, for example, seniors, and people are losing their minds because, again, and I think that contributes to the distrust as well. It's like, what's true, what's not? We did this, now you're saying we can't do this.
Well, I think, and again, I think Bermudians for the most part complied in the beginning, and I think that's where people got restless. Like, hold on, we did everything we were supposed to do. What's happening now? Well, what's going on? Miriam Simmons says, amazingly, it was not normal for a lot of people. I work with some nasty people in my time. Robert Durham says, yes, but all this is changing as they find out more about the virus. And I will say that. We've had nurses on this show and professionals like Dr. Karika Weldon, and it is something that they're learning more about it as time goes on. Remember what Nurse Devon Adams said, that at first they were giving people vitamin C, they just had not seen it. So but you got to understand that there are people that are gonna lose trust because they think that experts should always be right. Yeah. They think experts are perfect. So I think when all things
answers right away, that's the other expectation.
Absolutely. So all that said, I just think, in all honesty, if we measured the Bermuda government over the last 10, 11 months, I do think that they've done an okay job. I do think that even they have gotten tired at times, but I think, there has been the occasional blip. And I'm not just talking about what Keynes and De Silva did. There's also the blips with the Minister of Health, where she said something, and then she was asked about it again and never apologized or took accountability. And truth be told, as much as Bermudians love to talk about Donald Trump not taking accountability for his actions, I think that Kim Wilson's slip up was on that same level. In that respect, you did not own what you said and say that you misspoke or anything. But for the most part, like I said, the government has done a decent job. Carla, we have to get to the news and then bring our guest of the day. Last call on. They are not callers, backup singers, folks. Hopefully, we have to protect them from Carla. No, we do not want Carla next to them. All right, let's go to the news. Then we'll be back with them to get the gospel in the show.
The U.S. Consul General in Bermuda will be leaving his post after 6 months. Lee Rizzuto, who was appointed to his post by twice impeached U.S. President Donald Trump, will see his appointment end with the swearing in of President-elect Joe Biden on January 20th. As he welcomed the new administration, Mr. Rizzuto said, "I congratulate President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris on their achievements and stand ready to provide any assistance that may be required to facilitate the transition and pay tribute to the special U.S.-Bermuda relationship. Our democracy will emerge stronger with an orderly transition of power." The Bermuda Police Service can now confirm the death of 35-year-old Odine Phillips. Mr. Phillips passed away following a serious single road traffic collision involving a motorcycle just west of the Tessera service station on the North Shore in Devonshire shortly after 1 a.m. on Monday. The Bermuda Police Service extended its sincerest condolences to the family of Mr. Phillips. Investigators wish to make a further appeal for any witnesses who may have observed Mr. Phillips prior to the collision. Preliminary investigations have revealed that Mr. Phillips was traveling in an easterly direction when, for reasons unknown at this time, he collided with a utility pole. The Bermuda Police is appealing for witnesses of or prior to the collision to contact the Road Policing Unit on 247-1788 or alternatively calling 211. The Daily Hour also extends its condolences to the loved ones of Mr. Phillips. International travelers will be allowed into England without a COVID test this weekend after a new rule requiring a negative result before entry was delayed. The government announced last week passengers traveling by boat, train, or plane would need to take a test 72 hours before leaving their country of departure. Ministers confirmed on Monday, the new restriction would come into force from 4 a.m. tomorrow. The new rule has now been pushed back to Monday to give international arrivals time to prepare, a decision that has left travelers who rush to buy tests fuming. January 14th is Organize Your Home Day. The day was launched to encourage homeowners to get down to the nitty-gritty and whip their nests into shape. Many of us are guilty of closing doors, sorry, Jody, on cluttered rooms and letting piles of stuff accumulate, even though we know tidying up and decluttering would make us feel better. When tidying may not seem like the most exciting activity, there are plenty of ways to have fun while celebrating Organize Your Home Day. Create a plan of action, tackle all these jobs that have been lingering for months, arm yourselves with cleaning products, and spruce up your home, ready to relax in comfort at the end of a busy day. Turning to weather, the high temperature in Bermuda is expected to reach 68, while it's expected to be 62 in Las Vegas and 53 in Porto, Portugal. Don't forget to tune into the full100radio.com tonight for Nighttime Jams, featuring some of your favorite romantic classics. That's your Daily Hour news break.
Did you say it was Organized Day or something like that?
Organize Your Home Day.
Oh, this is right up Jody's.
That's why I said Jody.
Yes, we're gonna get our lives together with Last Call. We're gonna take a quick break. We'll be back with they're chart toppers, Carla. You can't be back up to them.
We're number one.
Look, we're talking Billboard chart topping. Look, we're gonna be saying Grammy soon. We'll be back. Last Call.
Good day, Medical House Store speaking. Can I help you?
Medical House is Bermuda's leading one-stop shop for healthcare.
I found myself being a caregiver. Even though I was a nurse, I still needed help on, what was available in hospital beds and all that kind of equipment, and I knew where to go. I went to Medical House.
Bermuda's top doctors, dentists, care homes, and the hospital choose Medical House for a wide range of products. These same professional quality products are available to you for home health care.
I was very pleased with Medical House and the help they gave me when I most needed it.
Your experience with Medical House is about getting your needs met, but we also try to provide knowledge to help you through whatever you're experiencing.
Medical House is on Millreach Lane in Pembroke, where there's private parking right outside the door.
I would recommend them to anybody.
Call or visit Medical House today.
Go Macro started up at the beginning of the millennium in Wisconsin in the U.S. with macrobiotic farming in mind, motivated by the pursuit of health through balanced nutrition. Go Macro is a family-owned company dedicated to living and promoting a natural, whole food-based lifestyle. Like most whole food businesses, Go Macro is also dedicated to bringing you the flavors they love. This month we're featuring Go Macro Vegan Organic Granola and Coconut, Sunflower Seed Butter and Chocolate, and Coconut Almond Butter Chocolate Chip Macro Bars. Lindos, why go anyplace else?
All right. Welcome back to the big show, brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, Lindos, and our friends over at Channel 82, where you can also watch this and many other locally produced shows if you have One Communications. Carla.
Yep. I'm trying to contain myself, so I'm holding a lyric.
Okay, no, there's rules to this. You have to sign a contract before we bring these gentlemen on. You have to agree no singing, All right, no temptation. All right, I don't want to scare our
promise.
guests off. I don't want to scare them off. All right, so be on
I
your back.
promise.
All right, let's bring in Adrian Jones and Trey Aswood from Last Call. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Hello.
How's it going?
We're very well. Look, Carla's all giddy, right? Because she loves to sing, and as you can tell, she's trying to be the third member of the group.
Right.
Thank you guys for doing this. I since we started this show, I really wanted to have you on. And glad that we can start 2021 off with you. But before we get into the conversation of your career so far as a duo, speak to us a bit about how Last Call became one. Like, how did you come together as a duo?
I guess it's me. I'll start off. So yeah, basically, when we were young adults, teenagers, and I think just maybe touching the 20-year-old threshold, Adrian and I, we first met at a concert. I think he was singing with his praise team, and then we kind of caught up after that a little bit. But then eventually, I actually started to attend his church, New Creation Worship Center, and that's sort of where we began becoming friends. And then maybe about like 6-7 years later, we found ourselves singing backgrounds for another local artist. And it was through that experience that we really became tight, and we realized that, a lot of our theories to ministry, our approach to music were the same. And so we thought, you know what, why not join forces? In the church, we feel like there's so much competition already, and we're all serving the same goal. We're all trying to do the same thing. So it might be best if we just put our resources together, put our gifts and talents together, and do this thing together, and thus Last Call was formed.
All righty. Adrian, anything to add to that?
I mean, I think Trey captured it pretty well. It started with a conversation after that rehearsal that we had after we were singing backgrounds for the friend. We just got together and we had a conversation, like we said before, about the approach of ministry. And majority, if not everything, was aligned. And so that's when the suggestion was posed. We spent some time on the thought of it because we both felt in our own right we could do it as solo artists, but we felt that we would have more effect, and it would be funner to do it with somebody. Sometimes in this industry it can get lonely, being a solo artist, traveling all over the place and nobody to share that moment with. And so I think we can both agree that it was the best decision we could make for our musical career.
Indeed. I actually, I heard you sing at a friend of mine's wedding, Andrew Small and Camille Small in Jamaica, and I was blown away. Because I didn't make the connection. This is Last Call guy at first, and I was like, man, you were great, man.
Thank you.
And then I saw a video because I weren't invited to Trey singing to my baby sister Capri at their wedding, and I was like, I just had to throw some shade. But no, you honestly, you guys have awesome voices, and unlike Carla, I realized early that I just did not have a voice to sing, so I just leave it to you professionals. You sing gospel music, right? It's a genre that, for me, I just remember back in the 90s. Everyone in my class was like a Kirk Franklin fan back then. I mean, he changed the way that people thought about gospel music. But as we had Dr. Maria Seaman, who's a well-known pastor in Bermuda, on, I want to say late last year, one of the things we discussed is how Christian numbers have dwindled the world over and are expected to dwindle even more over the next few decades. As the world becomes more liberal, how do you as gospel artists respond with your music?
Honestly, I think the best instruction manual is the Word of God. God is the same yesterday, today, and he will be tomorrow and forever. And so I think we need to stay on his word, stay on his morals, stay on his instructions. And I think we will continue to see results. I think in this day and age that we're living in now, the new generation coming up is a whole different breed, a whole different texture of person. And the way that we interact with them has to be different than the way that the adults would have interacted with the children of the 90s or the 80s and the 70s. It's a whole different mindset of this new generation. It's a whole different pattern that they live by. And rules. And so I think it's important for church leaders and even for ministers of the gospel through song to know that generation, to know what they gravitate towards, and to know how to appeal to them with the word of God. I don't think we can come with the same strategy of the 70s, the 90s, 70s, 80s, and 90s for the generation of the 2000s. It's just not going to work. With that being said, we don't do away with the word of God. We don't do away with the gathering of the saints. Like I said, God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. However, there's a different way that we can present with still having those same standards in order to grab those of the new generation in and to keep them in. And I think we implement that we implement those new things with the way that we present ourselves when we minister on the stage, with the words that we use, with the way that we speak to people, and with the lyrics of our song, as well as different melodies of songs and different things like that. So the gospel music that you hear now might not be the same of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. However, the lyrical content is still coming from the word of God.
Indeed. Anything to add to that, Tricray?
Nope, I think Adrian did very well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, in 2019, you guys enjoyed success that many people dream of. You didn't have not one, but you had 2 Billboard hits in 2019. Take us back. How did that feel? And can you give us a bit of your journey on how you got there to becoming these so recognized?
Yes. So basically, I think it was 2018, we had a concert called Gospel versus Cancer here in Bermuda at the Cedar Bridge Academy courtyard, where we raised funds for the Bermuda Cancer and Health Association. And during that concert, our manager had brought down some record label executives from some huge labels, and one included Fred Jerkins from Darkchild Gospel. Many people may be familiar with his brother, Rodney Jerkins of Darkchild. And so they came down, and we actually decided to sing our song Victory for the first time that night, which is a risk, because when you are trying to impress labels and you want the audience to get along with you, you want to sing stuff that they know so that they can sing out loud. And, but we said, the Holy Spirit impressed upon Adrian's heart that we should do Victory, and we did it, and that ended up being the song of the night. So a 5-minute song ended up becoming a 9-minute song, and we were just singing it, and he fell in love with it and wanted it to be a part of his compilation album entitled A Project of Healing. And so afterward, we all met up at the hotel, I think Hamilton Princess, in the morning, and he was like, yeah, I want you guys to come up to record it for this album. So we did. 3 weeks later, we found ourselves in Atlanta, and we recorded the song. And then he decided that song would be the next single for that album. And then the rest was history. It kept climbing, it kept climbing, it kept climbing. And, once we made the main charts, I think we were at #1 on the indicator charts, but then we went to the national airplay charts, which is like the Mecca of, charts for any genre. And it just kept going and kept going. And I think we were overseas doing a tour, radio promo tour. And while we were overseas, we actually saw it go to #1. And we were contending against a Kirk Franklin song. So, that was kind of cool. And we actually managed to break through. And then with the second song, No Greater Love, we haven't seen it hit the national charts as yet, but we definitely saw some success on the indicator side. I think it got to like the top 15 or top 10. The issue with that is COVID. We aren't able to do a promotional tour. So being in Bermuda, it's a little bit more difficult because we're not able to, as you guys know, being on radio and stuff, you have to support a song and you have to travel and all of that. So hopefully COVID eases up a bit and we can get back out there and do it again. But both, we're just excited to be able to do this and to make history for Bermuda. I don't know if anyone else has ever did a #1 in Bermuda apart from probably Collie Buddz, but we're just grateful to be amongst that, and we're humbled.
Well, that's two different, totally different Collie Buddz and you guys, but you'll leave the plan.
So guys, there are a number of Bermudian artists who often, or they may have heard, how will they get out there? How would they get out there? Because Bermuda's so small in comparison to the world, and you guys have broken to the international market. What advice would you give an aspiring artist who wants to be heard and overseas and hopefully reach the success similar to yours?
There is there is so much advice that could be given to local artists. First off, I would like to say there's so much talent here. And I think there's a lot of talent that needs to be tapped into. However, there's knowledge that needs to go with that talent. Talent isn't just enough. You need to be a hard worker. And so for us, what we did at the beginning of Last Call, we put ourselves in as many musical situations as we could. So we flew away, we routed our own tours in the States. We reached out to churches that we knew and we went and sang there. And from there, different opportunities came. We even went to some conferences, none that we were singing at. We went to one big conference in Atlanta, the Passion Conference, and that had about 80,000 people in a huge arena. And we just went and set up in the nosebleed section just to see how you put on a big event, to hear the worship leaders there and hear the artists. And we went to a conference that we took part in North or South Carolina, one of the two. And we took part there, we sang, we sat there to listen to different radio personnel and radio programmers and seeing how we can get our music on the radio. Educating yourself is super important. So one thing I would like to say to Bermudian artists, and I see them doing a lot of music videos. Sometimes you would see a music video this week, they'll put out a new music video next week, and they'll do a new one in February. Honestly, it's really important. If you're going to do an album, you need to pick a single and you need to work that single. When you have that single, you need to get in contact with your local radio, get them playing your stuff, and get in contact with somebody in the stateside as well, because that's like the mecca of music, period. They just have the media platform with all genres of music and all of that. So what we have, our manager is connected to the States. So whenever we have anything, she does our bookings. Fred Jerkins is the head of the label, Dark Child Gospel. He also does radio tracking. He sends our music around to different radio stations and gets it played. That's how you get it in the ear of listeners. If you want anyone to know your music, get it on radio. It's good to have a visual on YouTube as well, but people won't know that visual exists unless they hear it first. Mm-hmm. So radio is super. I'm telling you, it's very important, and that's how we've been able to climb thus far. So I want to tell that to all Bermudian artists, that they need to get themselves somehow connected to the States and get somebody doing their radio tracking. If you have a good song and you think it's great and you think it's going to go viral, whatever the case is, get that thing on the radio. And I would also say, get connected with some conferences and just go out and educate yourself. Mingle, mix and mingle.
And radio pays. Let me just say that.
Radio does pay. Radio does. You do get royalties.
When you get that royalty check every 4 months, you're like, okay, thank you.
Every quarter.
Yeah. It cost me, but yeah.
Explain that real quick, just for those who don't know how royalties work. So every time your song plays, you get
it. So definitely, if you want to take this thing serious, you want to sign up with a PRO, which is a performing rights organization. So you have ASCAP, you have BMI, which we're a part of, or CSAC, which is hard to get into. I think is like invitation only. But they all do the same thing. It's no big deal. I would suggest BMI. I think they're free to sign up. I think ASCAP you have to pay. But basically, they track your song. So when you produce a song, it gets almost like a barcode, like a invisible branding thing, so that whenever a radio station plays it, this is for the States, because the UK have their own and Australia has their own, but for the States, whenever a radio station plays it, it will send a signal to their offices. I think it's what's it called? SoundScan, I think, and then BMI collects the data, and however many times you have spins, you got, I think, 0.009 cents or something like that per spin. So if you have over 1,000 spins in a week, it can add up. And usually when you're at number one, you're getting in gospel, you're getting 1,000 and something. If you're in secular music, you're probably getting 50,000 spins for a number one hit. So it really adds up. And then every 4 months, they will send you a check accordingly.
Let me just add to that, because there are a lot of people that have questions as to why don't our stations play in the US? Chakray just broke it down to you. What he explained, and we do, obviously Bermuda falls under the UK, so we deal with PRS license. When we first started, we tried to do US as well, but it's so many. You have ASCAP, as he said, you have BMI, you have Sound Exchange, and so it's much more complex with the US. So you don't want to get in the habit of not paying because there's stipulations for that. And plus, you want to reward the people who are helping give you content. So I encourage people, like what he's saying, if anything, for aspiring artists, do not believe that it's just about creating a song and throwing it up on the internet. Get that thing on the radio. And I mean, thank you for stating that, you guys, because when you get radio play, you get paid. It adds up. Yeah, Carla.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to go cut my single in a second. So often you guys travel to the States to record. Do you think, or do you hope that it will come to a point in your career where you locate to the States and take your career from there?
Right. With that, that's definitely been a conversation. And obviously with COVID-19, that's kind of throwing a wrench in the plans for that. So we're kind of just seeing what's going on with COVID. Also with the social injustices that's going on in the States, doesn't make it look that appealing. However, our market is in the States, and it's always smart to be in your market. Every time that we minister, we have to fly out. And in some cases, we have to spend some of our own money, whether it be air travel or airplane or rental car, whatever the case is. If we were located in the States, sometimes we love you right back, Pamela Wade. We, a lot of the times, I'm sorry, I forgot, I lost my train of thought. But anyways, if we were located there, sometimes we could drive there, the plane tickets are way less. So it would definitely benefit us financially, and it will give us more opportunity to do it on a more regular basis as well, to do those opportunities that we might not be able to because we're just here. So it's a conversation, and we're looking at other places as well, just to keep our options open. Bermuda has been good to us. We do love Bermuda, but whatever is going to be good for the longevity of our careers and for the gospel of Jesus Christ, and that's going to make it easiest for us to get it out as much as we can. That's what we're going to go for.
Indeed.
Do you have a large following in Bermuda?
Yes, I would say so. I mean, that's like home base for us. So they were there at the beginning and continue to support us throughout this journey. So yeah, I would say we definitely have a huge following here. I mean, I feel like we've reached the pinnacle of wherever a gospel artist can reach. We actually won the Best of Bermuda Award for vocal artists in 2019, which is really, really cool.
2020.
2020, yeah, definitely 2020, yeah. But yeah, so that was such a cool thing for a gospel artist to win that award. So yeah, I would say so. And that was vote. This time they changed the format and they allowed Bermudians to vote, because prior to that, I think it was like 5 people that picked everything, which to me was, When you let Bermuda pick who they think their best is, you might get a whole different thing. So I'm sure a lot of categories were shook up because of that. But yeah.
Indeed. Got some questions from the audience. Kathy Bromby says, it's not a dumb question. Where can we follow your music?
You can follow our music or purchase our music on all digital stores. So that's iTunes, that's Amazon Music. Where else? Google Play. Yeah. So wherever it's sold online, that's where you can get it. iTunes, Amazon Music, Google Play. There might be some. I think some music is on Spotify. Yeah. Everywhere that digital music is, you can find it. And some of our visuals, we have some music videos on YouTube. That's at Last Call Worship or Last Call Bermuda on YouTube.
Question from the audience. Quentin Stovall says, so as artists, is Last Call able to earn a living from their music career presently?
We earn not a full living though, not yet. We're still climbing up. We haven't reached that place where we're full-time Last Call. And as a matter of fact, we didn't start taking like a profit of any of our income, I think, until 2020, and we started in 2015. So everything that we made, we kind of put back into Last Call, and now we were able to pay some bills. So now that we paid off a few things, we're able to start to see an income. But of course, right when we started that process, COVID came in. And so the last show that we've had internationally was 2019. It was a New Year's Eve concert in DC. And that's the last time Adrian and I have traveled. So yeah. Wow. And then we do a few things here, but it's not a lot at all.
Okay. Another question, Charles H. Jeffers 2 says, what's the story behind the name Last Call?
The story behind the name Last Call, when anybody starts a group or a duo, one of the exciting things you would think would be to pick your super cool, wicked name. And so we tried our best and we failed numerous times. And so what we did, we said, well, obviously we're trying too hard. We're not getting the name that's sticking. So we just released it to God. We said, God, whatever you want our name to be, that's what it will be. One night, Chakray and I went out for some dinner and got some sushi. We used to eat sushi a whole lot back then. I happened to leave the table to go to the bathroom. When I was at the sink washing my hands, I wasn't thinking about anything but getting my hands clean. And this is pre-COVID. I was a hand washer. And all of a sudden, I just heard the name Last Call in my head. That's all. I was washing my hands and all I heard was Last Call. And I'm like, what is that? But it clicked when I heard it. I said, what was that? And it clicked. I went to the table. I didn't say anything to Chakray but Last Call. He looked back at me, he said, Last Call. And it clicked with him. And we looked at each other and we said, Last Call. And it registered. So right there, God gave the name. We weren't looking for it. We weren't searching for it. We were minding our own business. He dropped the name. And it just talks about, and we got the meaning later on. It simply talks about the last days, the last times that we're living in, and talking about, if you find yourself in a situation where you're in a church service or if you're at a gospel concert or whatever, and the appeal is made to accept Jesus, tomorrow is not promised. And so that could be your last call. And there's a scripture that is attached to it as well. It's Deuteronomy 32:30. It talks about one of us putting 1,000 to flight and two of us 10,000 to flight. And it talks about two people coming together to exponentially grow anything, your attempts of whatever you're trying to do. And so that's basically what Last Call is and how it came about.
We have a lot in the comments, Carla. Let's just go through some of these comments. Kathy Bromby says, are there any adequate recording studios in Bermuda?
We recently went to one. I can't remember the name of it. There was like on Napton Hill that seemed pretty good. Like they had a good sound. Because we're contracted to Dark Child Gospel, we have to record all of our stuff at their studio, which is in Atlanta. So unfortunately, we don't get around many here. I mean, of course, when the late Steve Easton was around, that's, Just Platinum Studios, that's where you went. I'm not sure. I believe his brother has taken over and he's pretty good as well. But again, like we don't get to record too much here because of, contract reasons. But I'm sure now with technology, I'm sure there are.
Alrighty. We have a question. A Caprias says, in a world of many solo artists, what is your favorite thing about ministering together?
One thing there's a few things. When we travel together, like I said before, it's way better to travel with two people. When you go out to eat, you have a friend there. When you're going to perform or to minister and you have a great experience, there's somebody right next to you to share that experience. You don't have to go back to your hotel room and be like, well, that was great, but none of my people would ever see it, or what I'm saying? To share those experiences with each other is a beautiful thing. And when one of us is down or sad, we can help each other. If one of us is weak, one of us is strong, so we can help each other up. It's a good balancing act, and we're best friends, so we always have a good laugh. If something hilarious happens, he's right next to me, and we could just die laughing together. It's so many pros to being in a group or a duo as opposed to solo artists.
All right, let's go to one more. Amanda Kelly asks, I might have missed it, but where is home base? How does one get in contact with Last Call?
Home base is Bermuda, and you can reach out to us. If you send us something through social media at Last Call Worship or our email, that's the best way, which is lastcallworship@gmail.com. Lastcallworship@gmail.com. That's the best way to reach out to us.
All righty, Carla, you had something further?
As a young man, I love how you're so grounded in God. So my question was simply, has it been difficult as young man to maintain your faith when you're surrounded by so many distractions on a day-to-day?
And temptations.
And temptations.
Yeah.
Is it easy? I would say no. It's not easy. But when God has done so much for you, and when He's brought you out of so many things, and when He's made miracles and made ways for you, I would say it makes it easier. When you have something to look back at and look back at God's track record in your life, it helps you to go on. It helps. It's a reminder on those weekdays and when those temptations come toward you, and when you want to do something that's outside of your godly character. I think you can look back at those moments and those instances where God made a way, where He helped you, where He healed you, where He delivered you, where He saved you, where He kept you, where He kept those words out of your mouth that you wanted to say because that person came in front of you and they swerved right in front of you. So I think for me, the faith thing isn't hard, but sometimes living right could be the hard thing. I feel like I don't lose faith, but sometimes your flesh gets weak and you want to do something that's contrary to God's word or God's standards. But yeah, I think his track record in my life keeps me on point.
I just felt so much guilt for that person I'm about to yell at on the highway this morning.
You were yelling at somebody yesterday.
I mean, that's every morning, but sometimes I forget I'm on the phone and I say, but you're right. People say, oh, you're so disciplined. You can just go cold turkey. And I'm listening to you, gentlemen. I'm glad Carla asked that question about you being grounded. I mean, you really sound way beyond your years in terms of how I'm going to re-listen and watch the show as I do all. But what you said as far as being a duo versus being alone and doing this, that's the brotherhood that we need. It's something that people don't think exists, especially between Black men. Let's be honest. So it's fantastic to hear that. It's been a pleasure having you. Before we let you go, someone asked in the audience, but how can people, is it, I see, Tricay, you have at Last Call Worship up. That's Instagram and Twitter, or just Instagram?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah. All right. At Last Call Worship. Right now, obviously, due to COVID, you're probably not doing much, but what can people expect? And it's probably hard to answer this because we don't know what the world would look like, but what can people expect next from Last Call?
Man, we have this music that we need you all to hear. So so in 2020 we were supposed to record an album, and now we've shifted it to 2021, but COVID hasn't died down anymore. So we're hoping that we can get back into the studio to record this next project and give you some new music. So that's a big thing. That's what we're really, really trying to work toward. And hopefully we can regain some of the stuff that we lost in 2020 in terms of performances, because we had some really nice shows that we were included to, and we're about to be a part of, but they all got canceled. So hopefully we can do it this time around.
Gentlemen, honestly, it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you for accepting the invitation to come on. And we definitely, when you've got some stuff going on, or if you would love to come and engage with our audience, please know the door is wide open. So thank you. It's early, I know, for most people, but we appreciate you coming on. And thank you for keeping Carla quiet and not giving her.
I know Apostle Howard. And I'm telling you, you're going to be called the last caller because I'm going to be your third singer, okay?
Okay. That's cool.
I'm sorry about that, gents. I'm sorry about that.
I've been holding you for 20 minutes.
You know what it reminds me of? Before I let you go, it reminds me of back in the early 2000s. I don't know if you guys ever went to New York City, but everyone would be on the street trying to give you their CD and their music, like their demo, right?
Yeah.
This is the new version. This is Carl.
Oh boy.
Yeah. There you go.
I'm gonna be right there with you guys. Don't you worry. I'm gonna be your Spinderella.
Yeah, she will be a great addition. But guys, thanks again for coming. And as stated, all the best going forward, and hopefully the world gives us less death, more health, and more Last Call going forward.
Thank you very much.
Bless you guys. Thank you for having us.
Guys.
Thank you too.
All right.
Absolutely awesome.
They were really awesome. We're going to take a quick break. Then we'll be back with the daily play. We'll have the inspirational thought of the day, and we'll wrap it up with a recap of today's show. So many lessons from this show with these gentlemen today.
Bermuda, do you know the difference between internet and Wi-Fi? Don't worry, neither did I. Let me break it down to you. Internet is delivered to your modem, which then has to push the Wi-Fi signal into the rest of your home. Do you find that the further you're away from your modem, the weaker your Wi-Fi signal gets? That's because Bermuda's homes are built hurricane tough. It's really difficult for that Wi-Fi signal to reach every room. But you're in luck. Our One Home Wi-Fi solution guarantees Wi-Fi coverage in and around your home with the help of our Eero devices. Plug in the Eero around your home and it will create a mesh Wi-Fi network in every room. Check us out at One today to sign up and make sure you can stream, work, and play from every corner of your home.
All right, straight to the daily play. Where is the birthplace of Jesus, Carla?
You seriously can't do this to me right now? Jerusalem.
No.
Bethlehem.
Oh, she got it. Carla, I honestly said, please don't be a heathen right now. Don't do it. Yeah.
My granny would have killed me.
Yes, it was Bethlehem. Folks, I thought Carla was going to do it to herself today. I was like, not today, Carla. Don't do it. I almost was like, I feel like giving her the answer so she could, whatever. But Bethlehem, Carla got it right. This is what was coming for you. This is what was coming for you.
No, you know what? I had to do the remember these little town of Bethlehem. That's how I remember, because if not, I would have not known.
All in the song. No, seriously, all in the song. Sometimes it's that easy, right? But what's this conversation?
You know what? And I hate to say this, I've watched I can't say his name, Trey grow up, and I remember when he was a little young man singing, and to see him now, and I love their brotherhood, and I love that they're so spiritually grounded. I absolutely love that. So all the best to them. And I will be adding them to my daily, because I play gospel every day. So I'll be adding them in.
Yeah, definitely. I tell people, I'm one of those strange kind of people in terms of, even if I don't necessarily listen to the genre of music, just because I want to support them, I will do that. I'm that kind of person. And so we have to support those who are like us. We have to support our fellow Bermudians, and I hope that Bermudians do support them. They are so humble and grounded. You're right. I mean, they are likable. They are probably one of the most likable duos Bermuda has probably produced in recent times in terms of music and entertainment. There's no ego. There's no, attitude. Is literally they are doing this because of their belief, and it's just amazing to see their progress. And I really believe with the attitude that they possess, they are going to achieve great things. So it's just been listening to Jerusalem. That's a hint. That's a hint. Carla, what's your inspiration?
If I would have got that wrong, jeez, Pastor Stephen would have spanked me.
Yeah, Dr. Stephen probably back there. She's probably like,
she would have been like, "Oh my God."
Carla, I had it for you.
Starve your distractions, feed your focus. Jay Shetty.
Starve your distractions, feed your focus. Stay focused. Stay eyes on the prize. Any final words for today, Carla?
You know what? Today, that having this conversation today really uplifted me. So they just impressed me. I love it. So I hope that they resonate with everyone else today, and everyone have a beautiful day.
Indeed. And don't forget, tomorrow we'll have Antonia Holder coming on. She has something called Mothers and Daughters Empowered. So this is bound to be another good show. But thanks again to Last Call for coming on, having such a decent conversation, an impactful and hopefully inspiring conversation that others, whether Christian or not, can be empowered by their words and their commitment to their journey and their God. Thanks again to our partners, Medical House, One Communications, and Lenders, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you. As always, we appreciate you. We love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Carla Zul. I'm Jamel Hartman. My friends, make it a good day.